All right, so we're going to actually look at what lateral area is. Now we've talked about the total area, the total surface area. And the total surface area is when we just have the bases, okay? So, I mean, that includes, not just the bases, it includes all of the bases, both bases, however many bases you have, one or two, or however many you have, plus the lateral surfaces. I have allergies right now, my brain is scrambled. So we have the base for the cylinder is here. That's our base. For our cube or rectangular prism, these are your bases. Now, I could rotate this on its side and actually have the bases in a different spot if I wanted to, but whatever I pick as a base dictates what the other base is and the height. Remember, the bases have to be opposite, parallel, and congruent in a prism. And then we've got the cone, and this is your base and the cone. And then here I have a triangular prism, and here are my bases in the triangular prism. So as you can see, we've got all of our bases covered here. No pun intended, that was pretty funny, right? So I want to find the lateral area. I want to find the area without the blue, just the red. So for the cylinder, the lateral area of the cylinder is like a can of soup. It's like a can of tomato soup. It's the label. It's just the label. So the lateral surface area of a cylinder is 2 pi r h. You do not have the 2 pi r squared because that's the basis. So it's just 2 pi r h. Now why is it 2 pi r h? Well, like I showed in a previous video, if I were to draw a net for a cylinder, what do I have? I have pi r squared, and then I have the area of the rectangle. Well, the rectangle, this is the height of the cylinder, so that's h. But how do I find the length of the rectangle? Well, what does the rectangle wrap around? It wraps around the circle, right? How do I find the distance around the outside of a circle? 2 pi r, circumference. So it's 2 pi r times h, and that gives me the area of my rectangular label. So if I'm looking at this, let's say I have a radius of 4 inches and I have a height of 10 inches, and I want to find the lateral area. The lateral area. Okay, the lateral area is going to be 2 times pi times the radius, which is 4, times the height, which is 10. So the lateral area is going to be 2 times 4, which is 8, 8 times 10, which is 80, so 80 pi. And that's going to be inches squared. If you want to do that in terms of decimal, then it would be 251.33 inches squared. So that is your lateral area, both in terms of pi and decimal form. Again, that's just the red area that's represented. So now let's look at the lateral area of my box or my rectangular prism. That's the wraparound there. That's the wraparound the side. Well, to find the lateral area of a rectangular prism, okay, and this is a cylinder. I'll actually write cylinder here. For a rectangular prism, it is a prism. All prisms fall under the same umbrella for formula. Now the easy way to do it would be to add the 4 faces together by finding the area. So let's say, I'm not going to make it a cube. Let's say that this is 6 millimeters, and we'll say that this is 4 millimeters, and we'll say that this is 9 millimeters. If I want to find the lateral area of a prism, it's perimeter of the base times the height. No bases, no 2b. Perimeter of the base times the height. Well, the perimeter of my base, it's a 9 by 4. So 9 plus 4 plus 9 plus 4. So 18 plus 8 is 26. So the perimeter of my base is 26. How tall is it? It's 6. So if I multiply those two together, I get 156, and that's square millimeters. Now, if you want to look at it the practical way without using the formula, let's do the 4 faces, the 4 lateral faces. The area of this one is a 6 by 4. That's 24, right? And I have an identical one over here. That's also 24. That's left and right. Now let's look at front and back. Front would be 6 by 9, which is 54. And the back would be 54. So if I add these together, I have 20 plus 20, 40, plus 50 plus 50, 140, 148, 52, 156. So that is the same exact answer, but all I did was I added the 4 faces together. It's up to you what you want to use. It just depends on what you're provided with. Okay, this is looking kind of patriotic. Let's look at the cone. I want the lateral area of the cone, okay? So for a cone, let's say the radius is 2 inches. And let's say that the slanted height is 5 inches. The lateral area for a cone is pi times radius times slanted height. We're not going to add the pi r squared because we don't want the base, the circle, the pi r squared. That's gone. Just the pi r l. So my lateral area is going to equal pi times radius, which is 2, times slanted height, which is 5. So my lateral area is going to equal 10 pi, and that's 10 pi inches squared, okay? Or 31, and let's see here, 31.42 inches squared, if you want to do it in terms of decimal. Cone you really cannot do like you did up here. You can add the faces here. You can't really do that with a cone. You just have to know it's pi RL. Okay. Now in a cone, if you were actually given the height, the actual h, and you didn't know the slant height, you could find it using Pythagorean theorem. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right. So now we're looking at this. Okay, and that was a cone. This is a triangular prism. It's a triangular prism because it's named after the bases. You've got 2 triangular bases. So we already talked about the lateral area for a prism up here. It's pH. Okay, so the lateral area is pH. That holds true for all prisms. Rectangular prisms, triangular prisms, hexagonal prisms. So I'm going to create some values here. Let's say this is 8 centimeters, and let's say this is 3 centimeters, and that's 3 centimeters, and this is 5 centimeters. We'll say this is 5. Well, I have to find the perimeter of the base, so I have 3, 3, and 5. So the perimeter of my base is 11. My height is 8. The height of the prism is the distance between the bases. Always remember that. People get those mixed up a lot. It's the distance between the bases. It's not the height of the base. It's the distance between the bases. So 11 times 8 is 88, and that would be 88 centimeters squared. So that's how you find lateral area of 3-dimensional objects.